Hello everyone. Today we will be solving question 6. So the question 6 asks us to process the CSV file HTTP flat sales, right? So the first thing we do is read our CSV file. We read our CSV file using this particular function, read CSV. After importing the CSV package, we can directly use the reader function in the CSV file, okay? Since the CSV files are usually encoded in this manner, we can specify the encoding as well, and then it will return a list of lists containing the rows of the CSV file and its entries. So we are given these following columns, and as expected, we are asked to process these columns further. So the first one asks us to implement this function sales stats. Now, what does sales stats ask us to return? So what is the return of sales stats? Return, we are asked to return a tuple. A tuple containing the maximum sales ratio, the average sales ratio, and the minimum sales ratio. Okay. So max, mean, and average. Now, what do we mean by a sales ratio? We have been told in the question that the sales ratio for any block, which is an identifier, for any block is the ratio of the total units sold by the total units built. So sales ratio is units sold by units built. Fair enough. Now, which of these columns will be a unit sold and a units built? Units sold will be total sales and units built will be total units. We have been given an edge case to avoid multiplication by division by 0. If there are no units built in this block, this ratio will be equal to 0 to ensure that a division by 0 error does not occur. So if units built equal to 0, then SR also equal to 0. Fair enough. So without further ado, let's start coding. So the first thing we'll do is import our data from the file name. So read CSV name. Now, the next thing is we are not exactly asked for the sales ratio for all blocks. We are only asked the sales ratio for a particular town over a particular specified period. So we go in this order. First, we filter over the town. How do we filter over the town? The town is the 0th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th index. So we do list filter lambda x of, now x will be your iterator. So x4 equals to the town. Fair enough, equals to the town. And we iterate over the data set after excluding the length, after excluding the header. Fair enough. So let us print this data and see if our method is working. Always remember to test what you are doing. Okay. So let us uncomment this and see if our thing is working. Indeed, we have an output and it is working. So let's continue. The next thing we have to filter by is the year, where both the end year and the start year have to be inclusive. Okay, both inclusive. Okay, so how do we filter this now? Same process. List filter lambda. Let's see the column of years: 0th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So x, so you can write it like this: start less than equals to x3 and less than equals to end. Okay, and we iterate over data. Fair enough. Now, another edge case we can have is if the data set itself is zero, which means there were no blocks built, in the sense that there is no data for the year and the town that we need. So if our filtered data set, if data is an empty list, what do? We return a zero, zero tuple. Fair enough. Now we can do our tuple unpacking and get our sales and units columns. How do we do our tuple unpacking? We can do for dash. This dash is for the block number. Another dash. This dash is for the street number. Another dash for the floors. Another dash for the year. Another dash for the town. We name our column for units. And we name our column for sales. And another dash for rentals. What do these dash means? It means that we don't necessarily have to name every column in our data set. We can just leave them nameless because we don't need these particular columns in our program. So in data, right? Now note that before we move forward, to find this min max average, we will need to store the sales ratio for each block in a separate list so that we can find the min max average. So before all this, we will declare a temp list, which is an empty list. And as we move forward, we will be appending our sales ratio. Fair enough. So we face our first edge case. If int units equal to 0, SR equal to 0. Now, why did we do int units? Note that all of these values that you see in this list here are strings. So if we need to compare, we need to make this 0 as int, right? Next thing that we do is the else condition. Else SR equal to int sales divided by int units. After this, we append to the list, temp list dot append SR. By this, our loop is complete. Now we can either save our max, mean, and average values separately and return them rounded to the second decimal place. So we can do something like max, maximum, average, and minimum. We can write this as max of temp list. Now note that there is no inbuilt function for average. So for this, we will have to do sum of the temp list by length of the temp list. And finally, we can do min temp list. Fair enough. Now we need to round them. So we are allowed to use the round function. We will simply return a tuple. So first we write the tuple like this. Then we can do round maximum to the second decimal place. Then again round average to the second decimal place. Finally, we do round minimum to the second decimal place. Now let's see if this works. Okay, we have all this. Let's see if this works. Oops, we made an issue here. Aha. Tiny syntax error. Now let's run it again. All the cases are true, so our function has been implemented correctly in this case.